All right, kiddos, today we're going to finish up 11.3. So I'm apologizing for not being there, but Miss Patton will do a fine job. So you're going to watch the video and then you're going to complete a problem set. So I'm going to give you the problem set now, and then I'm going to do a couple of examples. The ones that you're going to be doing today are going to be on page 808 and 809. Oop, 809. And we're going to pick up right where we left off. So you're actually going to do all of numbers 39 to 46. You're going to do everything you've done the last 2 days and then one more step. So the first set you're going to do is 39 to 46. And then you're going to have to do numbers 51 through 54. And these are special ones, and I'll tell you those ones are super important. And the reason is your slope has to equal something, okay? So let's do a quick review of the ones you did 2 days ago so that you can remember. You already know how to do this. Remember, heavy algebra one day. So let's go with our function notation. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do one that I think is a little bit harder. I'm going to go ahead and do number 38. Okay, so in your books, this is on page 808. I'm going to do number 38. 38 says this. I think the radicals tend to be hardest because those have a ton of algebra 1. Plus, you have to use the conjugate, so that's going to matter. All right, so let's do the first step. We need f of x plus h. So wherever we see the x, we're going to plug in the h. Okay, so that's f of x plus h. Now the formula, which remember, we don't give it to you anymore, so you should be remembering, we're doing the limiting process. So we want to look at the limit as h goes to 0. Over h. Okay, so the whole goal to get to the point where our h's goes away, right? We want to be able to directly substitute in 0, and right now we can't. So let's do some algebra. Let's use our formula, and we're going to need to simplify. That's my f of x plus h minus my f of x all over h. So in order to do this one, I'm going to have to find a common denominator for just the numerator, which is going to be all of this junk. And this. So we have both of those pieces we have to worry about. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take this one. So now I have a common denominator. So on the top, I'm going to have x plus 1 minus x plus h plus 1. Okay? Now this h on the bottom, remember h over 1, so we're going to times 1 over h. So the h is now just right here. All right. In order to do something now, I still can't plug in 0. So now that I have a common denominator, I can actually multiply by the conjugate. So I want to go ahead and say, great, let's multiply by the conjugate. And remember, the conjugate looks just like that. The only difference is the sign change. Okay, this one is super ugly. So if you'd like right now, you can ask Miss Patton to pause if you need to copy that down and take a look at that. Okay. If you don't need to pause, tell Miss Patton you're okay, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to key for you. Okay. So when I multiply this on top, I'm going to get x plus 1 minus. Notice I'm using parentheses. The reason I want the parentheses is because I need to apply that minus sign to everything after it. And on bottom, by the way, this looks totally ugly. So I'm just going to do this so that you all see what I'm doing here for a second. I'm going to take this red box. I'm not rewriting it. And I'm just going to say red box. I'm just going to say red box. That's super long and ugly. Okay, so now, x plus 1 minus x minus h minus 1. all over h times that ugly red box. And on your notes, if I were you, I'd write the ugly red box too. It's just way too much work. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and say, get rid of this, 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 rid of this. And now, look, negative h and h is going to cancel. So I'm left with this awful ugly mess of negative 1 over the big red ugly box, which now I'm going to write. Notice those two are a product, whereas these two are a sum. And so we don't want to combine anything, we just want to write it. Okay. So now I can do what I wanted to do, the limit as h goes to 0. So if I let h go to 0, I can now say that's gone and that's gone. And so here I'm going to have the square root of x plus 1 times the square root of x plus 1. And I'm hoping you all say, oh, hey, that's this x plus 1. And I'm hoping that you all see x plus 1 plus x plus 1. Oh, Miss Collins, silly girl. That's 2x plus 1. Okay, so my final answer is going to be that my derivative, remember, we have 3 ways we can say this. We can say derivative, we can say slope, and we can say rate of change. Okay, for notation, remember this is f prime. Okay, and now what I end up with is negative 1 over x plus 1, pull the 2 out front, times the square root of x plus 1. X plus 1, not x plus 1. Okay, so there's my final answer for what you would have done for the last 2 days. Now, if you checked these in the back of the book, your book is going to have this answer. Okay, and that's okay. These two are exactly equal, exactly the same. Okay, so I chose the hardest one that I could give from 2 nights ago to review so that you can see, hey, here's what you're really doing. All right, if you scroll up, I'm going to pause here for a second. If you need to, you can ask Ms. Patton to pause. I want to show you the work. So key points that you did, kiddos, you did f of x plus h. Okay, you have to do that every single time. Then you used the formula. Okay, please do not skip steps. Mr. Elmore, yes, I'm talking to you, knucklehead. All right, show all your work. Okay, yes, I want you to show your work. If you don't need to see this right here where you're finding the common denominator, don't worry about it. Okay, you don't need to show me that as long as I can follow your work. Mr. Brusa, use a sheet of paper. I need to see it. And now you're going to be able to do the limiting process. Remember, all of that algebra stuff is just so that we can get rid of the h. Now I can plug in h equals 0, okay? So here's the final answer. This is the final answer. We can box it now. And here's the deal. Today we're going to go one step further. If that is the slope of my tangent line, I should be able to now write the equation of my tangent line at any point. So here's what we're going to do today. Not only are we going to have an original function, but we're going to have the derivative of that function. We are then going to have a point, and we're going to evaluate the derivative at that point, which you did 2 nights ago. And now the only thing we're going to do now is we're going to have an equation of a tangent line, okay? I know you guys are going to be able to do this without a doubt. There's the rock stars. So let's do an example straight from the book. I'll even do one from the problems that I assigned so that You have one less to do today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do 40. This is number 40 on page 808. And it says 4 minus x squared. And then it gives me a 0.1 comma 3. Okay, so I want to make sure we baby step this because I don't want you skipping any steps. I cannot just do the derivative with the shortcut. I know some of you have cheated by talking to my calc class. You have to do it the long way. You need to use the limiting process. So the limit as h goes to 0. That's what we're going to do, which you've done now. You've done that for 4 days. So we're just going to do this. So the first thing we need to do is come up here and do this. 4 minus x squared minus 2xh plus h squared. Miss Collins is trying to cheat. Don't do it. Okay, so there's my f of x plus h. So I'm going to take my f of x plus h and I'm going to plug it in for this. So 4 minus x squared minus 2xh minus h squared. And then I'm going to subtract from that my f of x, which is 4 minus x squared. Okay. All over Archie. But guess what? I cannot plug in h yet. Why? He's calling in. You can't have 0 in the denominator ever. You're right, ever. Okay, so if I've done this right, all of this should go away. Gone. Gone. And now left on top, I have negative 2xh minus h squared all over h. Miss Collins' favorite math word that starts with F. Favorite F word. Hello. Say it. Doctor. Yay. All over h. Okay. So here I am. Now I can cross that out. And here's my answer. Let h go to 0. What's negative 2x minus 0? It's just negative 2x. Okay, so here's the deal. So we did all of this limiting process, and here's what we really came up with. This is really f prime of x. So stage 1 complete. Okay, stage 1 complete. For stage 2, I need to find out what f prime at 1 is. And why am I plugging in 1? Because if I scroll up here and show you, they told me x comma y. So they're telling me x has to be 1. So I want to know what the slope of the tangent line is at 1. So negative 2 times 1 is equal to negative 2. Okay, stage 2 complete. Well, let me just remind you, this is just slope of the tangent line. In Algebra 1, what did we call it? We called it M. Okay? So here's what I have now. So now, look, I'm going to take a break from pre-calc for a second, and we're going to go back and we're going to revisit Algebra 1. Because here's what I know now. By the way, this is your final stage. This is stage 3. Stage 3. I'm looking for a line that has this form. Or I'm looking for a line that has this form. Okay, so I know this. Hello, Algebra 1. And I know 1 comma 3. And the reason I know 1 comma 3 is it was given. Okay, so now I'm just going to plug in. So y minus 3 equals m times x minus 1. And guess what? Miss Collins loves that form. Why? You're supposed to be preparing yourself for AP Calc. And guess what? AP Calc loves this answer. I'm done. Now, if I love Algebra 1 so much that I want to do more work, and I know you guys are rock stars, you love your math, then I can do that, and I get negative 2x plus 5. And then I go, okay, I guess I'm okay with that answer. The answer that Miss Collins really likes is this one. Yay, happy, happy, happy. Okay? And the reason is I don't waste any extra time. Here's the deal. If you give me this answer on the quiz or the test, and you do bad math, Miss Collins is going to be very unhappy. Tears will come streaming down my face. Okay? So don't take the chance of doing bad math. Go here. Yay, we're happy. There's my tongue sticking out of you. Okay. Excuse me. So here's what you're going to do. In your groups of 4, and Mr. Miggs, you better watch that back group of 4. You don't want Mr. Tarasuk in your group. No cards until this problem set is done, knuckleheads. Okay, here it is. You're going to complete these problems today. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I separated these and I put a star here. And the reason I put a star there is because on every one of these problems, the directions are telling you that your slope is 0. So once you know the derivative, we're going to go back to algebra 1, and we're going to set the equation equal to 0 and solve for x. So this one is solve for x instead of plug in x. 51 through 54 is solve for x. Okay? I'm telling you right now. Okay, I'm also going to be gone on Thursday. I know, I'm so sad about it. You guys know you're my favorite. But here's the deal. Miss Patton's going to play this video, and if you need to see it again, you can ask her to play it again. Otherwise, in your groups of 4, get to work. So let's